Hey, this is Sandy Bapti, volunteer tour guide with the Friends of the Cabildo since 2012. And today I'm going to talk about the architectural style Richardson Romanesque. This is Tulane University's main building called Gibson Hall, and it was designed in 1894 by a local architecture firm in the style of Richardson Romanesque. This was a Victorian style, of which there were many, and it was inspired by medieval and Romanesque architecture and named after the architect Henry Hobson Richardson, who was one of the most famous and popular architects of that time. The original Romanesque architecture was used in churches and castles and featured massive stone walls, wide arches, and fortress-like columns and turrets. There's a horizontal feeling and heaviness to this architecture, which is due in part to the use of rusticated stone. Rustication is a form of treating the surface of the stone blocks with a heavy texture, while the joints between the blocks are still emphasized. Stone is unusual in New Orleans. It's not a natural resource here. It has to be imported. But in the 1800s, there were very few environmental regulations, and therefore it was much cheaper than it is today. Rounded elements are pilasters, which are attached columns, and here where they break free and are pointing up above the roof, they're called pinnacles. Between the pinnacles is a curved roof section called an eyebrow dormer. There are a number of other Richardson Romanesque buildings on the Tulane campus, as well as mansions on St. Charles Avenue. The Tilton Memorial Hall was built as the original library on the campus and features more elaborate carvings. The architect Henry Hobson Richardson was born in 1838 on Priestley Plantation. His family moved to the Julia Roll townhouses when he was young. He attended Harvard University and then the L'École des Beaux-Arts for training as an architect. Because of the Civil War, he didn't return to New Orleans and instead worked in Boston and New York. He was called a combination of Southern grace and Northern energy. The only building of his we have in New Orleans is the Taylor Library, originally built as the Howard Library, a private collection, which interestingly moved over to Tulane into Tilton Hall. A good source for more information on the Richardson Romanesque style can be found in the New Orleans Architecture Series, Volume 8, the University section, available at the 1850 bookstore. Also, Richard Campanella's articles. Thanks for listening.